Now we see Module 1 Oscillations and Waves. In this session we are going to see the mechanical simple harmonic oscillations, springs in series and parallel, complex and phasor representation of a SH. Now we go with the mechanical simple harmonic oscillations. As I said in the previous sessions, simple harmonic motion example is a mass suspended spring, and when it is being displaced down, the spring is set into simple harmonic motion. The oscillations of a mass suspended spring are nothing but a simple harmonic motion, and this we are taking it as a mechanical simple harmonic oscillator. Now let us see how exactly we can frame the equation. Here consider a mass loaded spring as shown in the figure. Over here you can see a spring is there fixed at one end and the mass is attached to the other end of the spring. And when the mass is pulled down and released, what will happen? Vertical oscillations takes place, and those oscillations are nothing but a simple harmonic oscillations, and this setup is called as a mechanical simple harmonic oscillator. Here minus x is a displacement from the equilibrium position within the elastic limit. So here we can say that restoring force is proportional to the minus of displacement. This we have discussed already in the previous sessions, that restoring force tries to bring back the body to the original position. So F is proportional to minus x, therefore F is equal to minus kx, where k is the force constant or the stiffness factor. Now what is physical significance of the force constant or the spring constant? What exactly this force constant measures? What is k? K is nothing but a force constant or the stiffness factor. Here stiffness factor, it is a measure of what is the force required to stretch the spring over a unit length. This is called as a stiffness factor. You can say that you can see a small spring in a pen, whereas a spring where it is used as a shock absorbers in the vehicles, that is in heavy vehicles. The spring what we use in a pen, it is having a very small force constant because small amount of force is required to stretch the spring or compress the spring. So spring constant of the spring, that is you can see in your pen, that is very less, therefore force required to stretch the spring is less. So force constant is less, the stiffness factor is less. Larger value of force constant will be stiffer. The more the value of force constant, the more the force required to stretch the spring. So larger value of force constant will be stiff. That means it will be more stiff. Force required to stretch is more. This is a major significance of a force constant. Now we see the period and frequency of oscillations. Let the mass loaded spring is set into vertical oscillations. T is the period of oscillations and K is the force constant. So T is equal to 2 pi into root of M by K. M is the mass of the spring and K is the force constant or the stiffness factor. And frequency nu is equal to 1 by T, that is nothing but 1 by 2 pi into root of K by M. Here we know that frequency and time period are inversely proportional. So frequency nu is equal to 1 by 2 pi into root of K by M. Angular frequency of oscillations omega is equal to 2 pi by T, which is nothing but omega is equal to root of K by M. It is expressed in radians per second. So here we have seen the period, that is the time period, and frequency is inverse of time period. So T is equal to 2 pi into root of M by K and frequency is equal to 1 by 2 pi into root of K by M. Now let us see the equivalent force constant for springs in series. Now you can see in the diagram two springs we have taken, S1 and S2. The force constant for S1 is K1 and force constant for S2 is K2. And when these springs are connected in this manner, it is said to be the springs are connected in series. You can see it is similar to the type of a resistance when two resistors are connected in series. However, it happens the same way, two springs are connected in series and mass is attached. Now consider a mass M suspended at the bottom of the springs. Here S1 is first spring, S2 is the second spring, K1 is the spring constant for S1 and K2 is the spring constant for S2. Now if two springs are connected in series, let delta x1 be the elongation for the first spring and delta x2 be the elongation in the second spring. In this, the first important thing what you have to see here is both the springs experience the same stretching force. That means the force is having constant. Both the springs have the same force constant. Two springs experience the same stretching force. You know that when the resistors are connected in series, current remains constant. And when they are connected in parallel, voltage remains constant. Similarly, here when two springs are connected in series, both the springs experience the same stretching force or the force remains constant. Therefore, delta x, total displacement for summation of both the springs, delta x is equal to delta x1 plus delta x2. We know that F is equal to minus kx. So, here we can say instead of x as F by k1 for delta x1 and delta x2 F by k2. And we know that both the springs experience the same stretching force. So, F is remaining constant. So, F by k equivalent is equal to F by k1 plus F by k2. F is common LHS and RHS. So, 1 by k equivalent is equal to 1 by k1 plus 1 by k2. So, what is the equivalent spring constant for the two springs in series is 1 by k equivalent is equal to 1 by k1 plus 1 by k2. K1, k2 are the spring constant of the spring S1 and S2 respectively. Next, we go with the equivalent force constant for springs in parallel. Consider a load M suspended at the bottom of the two springs S1 and S2. Previously, we have seen the springs connected in series. Now, we are seeing the springs connected in parallel. As similar for the resistors, how the resistors are connected in parallel, the same way these two springs are connected in parallel. Here, in the case of parallel springs having a common weight M, here two individual springs both elongate by x. As I told you, in the case of resistors, when the resistors are connected in parallel, voltage remains constant. Similarly, here when two springs are connected in parallel, both experience the same elongation, that is x, but experience the load non-uniformly. That means force is added up, but two springs have elongation is constant. In series, force is constant. In parallel, elongation is constant. So, the total force between the two springs for the F equivalent is equal to F1 plus F2. We know that F is equal to minus Kx. Therefore, K equivalent is F is equal to Kx. So, K equivalent into X is equal to K1x plus K2x. Here I have mentioned X, same for both the springs, because in parallel we have seen that elongation is constant for both the springs and elongation after the effectiveness also will be constant. Therefore, in this equation K equivalent into X is equal to K1x plus K2x. X will be cancelled. So, K equivalent is equal to K1 plus K2. So, when the springs are connected in parallel, effective spring constant K equivalent is equal to K1 plus K2, where K1 and K2 are the spring constant of springs S1 and S2 respectively. Now, we see the complex notation of a simple harmonic motion. Any complex number, we know that x is equal to z is represented by a complex number. So, z is equal to x plus iy. Here z is called as a complex number, x is called as a real part, and iy is called as an imaginary part, and we know that I square is equal to minus 1, or I is equal to root of minus 1. In polar form, we are mentioning as z is equal to r cos theta plus I into r sin theta. Using Euler's formula, it is e to the power of I theta can be written as cos theta plus I sin theta. We write it as z is equal to r into e to the power of I theta. So, these are the three forms: polar form, complex form and Euler's form. Here, theta changes with time. R is a function of t and theta is replaced with omega theta. The arrow indicates the arrow rotates about the origin with angular velocity omega. So, here A is the amplitude. For a simple harmonic motion, it is represented by z is equal to A into e to the power of I into omega t minus phi, where phi is the initial phase. Next, you can see the phasor representation of a simple harmonic motion. Till now, we have seen the different varieties of different forms of representation. Now, we see the phasor representation. What is a phasor? Phasor is a rotating vector whose projection is used to represent a sinusoidal varying quantity. So, now you can see the diagram over here. illustrate the phasor and are used to represent a simple harmonic motion. If you see here in the diagram, you can see that as a simple harmonic undergoes from 0, it is a sine wave. Simple harmonic motion, we can make it as a sine wave which moves from 0, goes to an extreme position, comes to the mean position, goes to the negative extreme position and comes to the mean position. So here it is represented with a phasor rotation using a circle. This kind of a phasor diagrams are commonly used in electrical circuits to show the phase difference between electrical components like voltage and current. Now if you see here, as you move away from 0 going to the, you can see here it is going up and again coming down. It is going up, again coming down. It is to the mean position and it is coming to the mean position, going to the extreme position and coming to 0. Here the moment this is going to the extreme position, here in this circle you can see the body is moving to the extreme position and coming back to the mean position, going to the extreme position, negative extreme and again coming back. The same thing we are representing in the form of sine wave. So this is the phasor representation of a simple harmonic motion. Thank you.